Hey guys, Ian here from Asgardian Strength. Today I wanted to take an opportunity to introduce myself as an athlete and not as a coach. Coaching, I've done a few things with different people, made them strong, but not a lot of people know about just what I've done even before like strength sports, and that's kind of what my reputation has been attached to. I did a lot of other stuff before that point. A few examples is when I was younger. One of the first competitive sports I got into was actually Taekwondo. So I did martial arts, I competed in tournaments, did quite well. For my belt level, skill level, I actually was like Canadian national champ at one point. So I was pretty good there. And then for school sports, I played the basketball, volleyball, badminton just kind of throughout the year. In high school there was football, but my high school football team was fucking terrible. Like didn't win a game in like 5 years. So there's no way I wanted to go on a losing team. But the volleyball team, I had already played that in grade 9 the year before, and I only had the 1 year experience. But then like the coach we had was just really good at that level, and that we did really well. Grade 12 I was captain, went to provincials, got 8th in Alberta. We did pretty good. After school was done though, there wasn't really a whole lot of things accessible, just at least around my town, for things to do. And there wasn't a lot of information out on like what athletes could do after their organized sports were just done with in the school system. So I did what most people do, and I just went to the gym. I had two big goals. The one big goal was like I wanted to get bigger, gain more size and weight, because I was always the skinny kid. It was like 145 when I started grade 12. I think I graduated around like maybe 160-ish, 165. And then I think like that summer I got to about like 180, which was like fucking awesome. But yeah, I was always the skinny kid, so getting bigger was always a goal of mine. And then the strength side of it, so I was just more competitive, more powerful, just any type of court or any sport that I wanted to play after that point. There wasn't a whole lot to offer for sports, and I went to the gym for long enough, went to school for music, and I got my jazz performance diploma from Grant MacEwan. And even there, like that was just a lot of focus on the schooling, but then for breaks I would just go and work out. So I was either practicing or I was working out, one of those two things. And that was for like 15 hours a day, 10 hours a day, like every single day. After school was done, I was like in between programs that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, whether I wanted to go back and like teach music and go through that type of process, or like wanted to do something else. So I got a job as a mover because I wanted to do labor jobs, because that was an easy way for me to get stronger, was just make myself do something that was a strength labor type of job. So that worked really well. I carried shit like all day, every day, 6 to 8 hours, maybe sometimes 10 hours. And you're just unloading a truck, loading a truck, moving shit up and down stairs. There's a lot of stuff you have to do with that. So I got really strong, especially through my back with that. The issue there was that like you couldn't train squats or deadlifts, and I didn't really know how to fucking train those without getting hurt. So I stuck to more, leg press, lunges, like things like that in order to work legs. But yeah, I did moving for a while, and then finally I just wanted to make a change. I wanted a career option, because what I was doing was okay. You made okay money, but there was no opportunity to make more money unless you just worked more hours. I didn't want that. So I was thinking about different things I could do. There was the opportunity to go back, like try and practice, be a music teacher, or at least go through that schooling system. But then, like I said, the thing that always interested me was like athletics and things like that. I did coaching, so I coached like basketball in grade 12, and then I coached volleyball and basketball once I graduated. So I wanted to do something that had to do with coaching for a long time. And then through the moving process, I got myself a trainer at one point, and he just kind of highlighted like there's different ways you can go about it. I picked one that seemed the fastest and easiest for where I wanted to like just get my certification, get a good experience with how to train people, and then go out there and do it. I didn't want to go through 4 years of school and do fucking English and history when that shit has nothing to do with training. I wanted to do like a personal training course. So I took a personal training diploma course, got a certification on top of that, and then that one makes me renew my certification, so I have to get new certifications like every 2 years. So once that was done, and I was just working out, doing things, I ended up getting like appendicitis, and I also had a hernia. So I had surgeries for those two things, like at the beginning of my personal training, which like fucked with everything. Like you couldn't get stronger. So coming back, it was cool through the personal training program, because then I had to like rehab the surgery that I had, and then still trying to get myself to the point that I can even participate in class things, let alone actually like lift the way I normally would. So once I came out, like my fitness levels were fucking super low because I couldn't do any cardio, couldn't do any lifting for like 3 months. And then finally I was able to like do stuff. So powerlifting was starting to get kind of popular then, and I like strength sports, or I like the idea of like a strength sport, but I had no idea what any fucking strength sports were. So when powerlifting started popping up on my feed, I was like really, really interested in with that. It had everything to do with not just my personal training business, but it had to do with that because those 3 movements were also really good just to teach the majority of people if they could learn them. So I really got into powerlifting for myself, but I just found that like the 1 rep max, you're always training to get that better, stronger. It's like hyper focused on that one thing, and I find that's good for some people. But like even for myself as a trainer that's trying to grow and trying to grow business and deal with different clientele, like that actually ended up kind of like sticking me in a box, and it wasn't very good. Even for like my own mental training, because there were times where like I just didn't like training. Like something with like you feel tweaked or you feel fucked up or something's not working well, and like you're banging your head trying to make it better, but like no matter what you do, it's just gonna, stay shitty. So then I got hurt on my shoulder, and that like I couldn't lift my arm above like here for the longest fucking time, and like you're spotting people and trying to do stuff. So I was really working against my own injury by having to work. That was my shoulder. I tore my lat at some point. Like I had to work through that, and as an athlete, like that fucks with you more because then you can't do anything. So I accumulated injuries, and I started going to like people to help me try and figure out what these were, and like I just hit dead ends everywhere I went. I went to fucking sports doctors that were like, well, just don't do anything overhead anymore, and it's like that's not fixing the problem. You're telling me to just not do something. That does nothing for me as a fucking person. That does nothing to do me to help me for the rest of my fucking life. All you're doing is to tell me not to do something so you don't have to fucking deal with me, and that's a piss off. For any fucking doctor, physio, chiro, or anybody listening to this, anytime you just fucking turn somebody away and tell them not to do something, you are 1, fucking pissing them off, 2, not helping with anything, and 3, you're really just putting a bad name for yourself out there. Take 5 fucking minutes, listen to the person, and work with them, right? You can tell them to not do certain things, but to say that you can't do a certain motion is I think, an uneducated fucking opinion, an uneducated prescription for somebody without any type of research into what's going on with them. So, little rant there, but fuck, they pissed me off because I went through multiple people. I spent lots of money to try and figure this out, and they did not fucking help me. And it wasn't until finally I hooked up with a few people that shared the same type of viewpoints on how it should go, and I was lucky that I worked with somebody in a professional setting that was taking the time to work with us trainers, because that made a big difference. Because then all of a sudden now he started I'd run things by him. Do you think this is not working well because of these different types of things? And all of a sudden now it was almost like a practicum type of thing. It was almost like a shadowing experience where I could come to him with problems, and he was giving me educated criticisms based off of my thought process, and I was asking him things to see if I could get more if I could get better with figuring out why shit was happening with myself, so that way I could just lift. The benefit to this was that it started to just leak into everybody else that I trained, because now I understood just certain repetitive injuries, like what they were, and he just I learned all that stuff. So now approaching any type of client or anybody that was coming to me, it was easier to work with them to make sure that they could still do stuff, but also make sure that we're doing things to try and slowly work on the underlying issue, which is not necessarily like the actual injury they have. It's normally like they don't have the prerequisites to be able to do certain movements, and that's why they keep getting fucked up. But as an athlete, it wasn't until like I took it upon myself and like really went to go look for the answers that I started to make progress and became like somebody that could just train without feeling the tweak anywhere all the time. So I had like, after going through that process and then coming to Evolve, that was the big game changer, because it was just a different environment. Everybody, like, overhead stuff was more prevalent, or the training was a lot better. You didn't have idiots around that were just stupid. It was just, everything was better about the training space. So then my training got better. I was training smarter. You have different you have kilo plates and not pound plates, so fuck your ego. like that gets taken right out of it. And then I started to really make a lot of progress. Shortly after I came to Evolve, I was introduced to strongman, and that changed the whole fucking game for me. Because then I had this sport that it's everybody can make fun of strongman and say what they want. But first of all, it's like manly CrossFit. And two, like the big thing with that is you have to have, if you want to be a really good strongman, you have to have maximal strength. You have to have good, like just athleticism. And you have to have good endurance, right? The athleticism or skill and the implements, you can kind of consider those the same thing. But those three main elements, they're huge. So for me, that was, as a person trying to train and get better at something, that now opened up an entire different world of now, it's not just a squat, bench, and deadlift, 1 rep max thing you fucking train for, is you can't have a weak point. It's not that being good at something helps you out like it does in powerlifting, it's being well-rounded just helps you out overall. I've competed in things where I've gotten the most amount of like first place in like say one event, and I do moderately well in others, but I can get last in one, and all of a sudden my placing drops, and now I'm out of a podium spot just because it's not that I'm not strong at stuff, it's that I'm so weak at something that it just hurts me with points. So as an athlete, finding strongman was nice because, yeah, it takes a lot just to not get hurt. It takes a lot of just planning. You have to have intelligence. And honestly, you have to check your ego. The people that I find get fucked up doing this sport, and yeah, I've only been doing it for a few years, but guess what? I have about fucking 5 or 6 years of training experience under my belt going into it. So I have the fucking smarts to actually analyze and see who's doing stuff smart, who's doing stuff stupid, and who's sticking around the longest in the sport. And I can tell you right now, it's the people that are trying to be strong throughout the rest of their life, not just trying to fucking get into the boys club and try and go competition by competition, or to try and go the extra 20 seconds on an implement because people are cheering versus just like calling it because you know you're going to get hurt if you keep pushing it. So for me, finding strongman was amazing just from the demand on your body for these cool fucking feats of strength, but you have to be smart enough that you stay in the game for a long time. If you spend 6 months of the year trying to rehab an injury, you can only train that for 6 months of the year, which means you're only able to progress for half the year. Versus I may make slow progress, but if I'm never going to get injured, over that 5 or 10 years, I guarantee you that you'll be light years beyond the person that keeps getting fucking hurt. But other than that, as an athlete, I've also been injured a lot. So rehabbing those and making sure that you are learning as you go along is important. Injuries happen. Per 1,000 hours, you're supposed to have like 1 injury, I think, on average. So if you're getting to 2,000-3,000 hours and you haven't gotten injured yet, fuck yeah, you've got some good things going on. If you're only getting to 100 hours and you're getting hurt, like somewhere or whatever, you've got to rethink how you're doing stuff. But yeah, I guess that's kind of me as an athlete, and my views on a few things is I did these court sports and they were great. I always was interested in the strength sports, but powerlifting just, it gave me a good start, but I find that it very much puts you in a box with those 3 lifts. And I find with my clients too, when it came to certain people and competing, they just don't do well with it. They just don't. Some people do well, it keeps them on track, keeps them going, but others it's just not the way to go. So even as, as a competitor, I need to compete. I just need to. Even as somebody that owns their own business and has to compete against fucking everything, everybody, all the time for clients' attention, not losing people. I'm a very competitive person, and those really work for me. But for a lot of the people that I've seen, competitions aren't necessarily the best thing. Other than that though, guys, that's a little bit more about me as an athlete. Have a great day.